The objective of this session is give the opportunity to young scientists of presenting their contributions without attending personally the conference. So each participant is going to present her talk through an avatar. Currently, we are connected with people from different countries, such as Colombia, Austria, UK, and Spain. So my apologies in advance for technical problems. They are very frequent, unfortunately. But on behalf of the conveners, thank you for coming. Thank you for your participation, and we hope you enjoy the amazing talk. We are going to start with Guillaume Blanchy from UK, University of Lancaster. He's going to present the talk entitled Crop Cover Influence on Water Availability, Non-Invasive High-Throughput Electromagnetic Induction Monitoring. When you want. Guillaume, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me properly?
Perfectly.
Okay, perfect. So let's go. So hello, I'm Guillaume Blanchy. I'm from Lancaster University in UK. And today I'm going to focus on the geophysical aspect of a cover crop experiment led by Nottingham University. I'm going to focus on the non-invasive and high-throughput electromagnetic induction monitoring. So here is the cover crop experiment at Nottingham. So there are 8 different cover crops: Egyptian clover, vetch, and tillage radish, you can see on the picture. And people at Nottingham want to know if the cover crops will influence the soil structure in a way that will influence the water availability for the next cash crop. The next cash crop will be. So what you're going to do is we're going to follow the soil moisture during all the growth period, so during the cover crops and also during the cash crops, some changes in the soil structure. Here I'm going to only present some preliminary results because the cash crop is growing right now. So for this, we use electromagnetic induction. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but basically it's kind of a small device you can put in your hand, and you can carry it on all the plots and do the whole survey. So take last time it took about 1.5 hours to do the whole survey, so it's quite quick. And so with this electromagnetic induction, you generate a magnetic field that will ground. This current basically is proportional to conductivity, and the main driver of the soil conductivity is the water content. So we used conductivity measurements as a proxy for soil moisture. On the left side, you can see the layout of the experiment with 4 blocks and 8 plots, and on the right side, you conductivity measurement. So with this device, we can have 6 different depths, the conductivity at 6 different depths. So from low ones on the left, which to the deepest one, high 3 at the bottom right, which is not expected to change much because I suppose there will be less roots in this depth. We can also look at it at the conductivity in time, and so come back to the field at regular time to do monitoring. And you can see on this graph, so you have the 8 different cover crops on the x-axis, and you have 3 different times for different colors. And let's just take a look at the white mustard. So the white mustard is the third one on the right. And if you look at the white mustard, only for the red color, so only for the 16th of November, you can see it in average, the white mustard has a lower conductivity than the other cover crops. So what does it mean? It means that if you look at the white mustard, it's quite a tall plant, so with a lot of leaves and so on. So the hypothesis is that the white mustard has a higher water uptake compared to the other cover crops. So the soil under the white mustard is drier and so less conductive. That's why it has a lower conductivity. We can also look at it in time, and so for instance, if you compare the red lines with the green lines has been taken just after mowing the cover crops, you can see that we have an increase in conductivity. And again, this makes sense because we're just removing the water uptake of the white mustard, and so the soil becomes moist again. We can go a step further, and using the 6 different depths I've been showing you before, we can just invert them and build a profile of conductivity with depth. And by subtracting these profiles of conductivity between 2 different time steps, we can get this graph, which is the differences of 2 inverted profiles. So it gives information of the behavior of the different cover crops in depth. And so it can also give us an information, so where the roots are sucking water from the soil, at which depth the roots are, and so on. On this graph, what I want to spot is that if you look at the black, blue, and brown line, I hope you can well see the colors, they are more or less the same behavior, and it makes sense again, because if you just look at the field at the Egyptian clover and the vetch, you can see it's very small plants with shallow root systems, and so it makes sense that there is no much differences from the bare soil for these 2 cover crops. So again, the key take-home message of all this presentation is that with the electromagnetic induction, you can measure soil moisture for a very large area quite quickly, and you can also get measurements in depth, which is quite interesting. So yeah, thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Hey, Guillaume, thank you for your presentation. It's really interesting. In the turn of question, we are going to continue with your talk. Then the next speaker is Dais Peña from the University of Zaragoza with the presentation entitled A Relationship between the temperature and weather types. So,
Hi.
Hi, Dais.
Hi. Okay, I start. Good afternoon. My name is Dais Peña. I am research at the University of Zaragoza in Spain. Here, I am going to present a study on the relationship between the maximum and minimum temperature in the weather types. In these studies, we use 2 databases with a time ranging from 1951 to 2010. The first database is the temperature database, and it contains monthly average maximum and minimum temperature from the Iberian Peninsula. All information about this database can be obtained from the article González et al. 2015, and you can see its reference of the bottom in this slide. The second database is the one contain information about the weather types. We are synoptic patterns of the atmospheric at a specific time. These weather types are obtained from the classification of atmospheric pressure fields, following the method by Jenkinson and Collinson. And finally, the daily weather types were converted to monthly frequency in order to have an equivalent time scale for both temperature and weather types. On the left of the figure of the slide, it is shown the distribution of the temperatures data in Iberian Peninsula, and on the right figure, it is shown the directional north, south, east, west, southeast, west, northeast, and northwest, and pool, anticyclonic, and cyclonic weather type that have been chosen for the analysis. Following. To know the relationship between both variables, temperature and weather type, the correlation was obtained by using the Pearson coefficient between both databases. Next, we classify each weather type with positive or negative contribution to the temperature according to the positive or negative correlation. respectively, for the world territory. This is indicated the percentage values. The results obtained were validated with another database. European Climate Assessment and Database is very known. A greater detail of the process carried out, you can follow the article Peña Angulo et al. 2016. You have the reference for the article on the bottom of this slide. Next, I show you the result that we obtained from the correlation between temperature and weather type in the Iberian Peninsula. Here, we obtained the percentage of territory with positive or negative correlation between both variables. You can see in this table, which allow us to define weather type that one increase or decrease of the temperature. Weather type showing the most large percentage of territory with positive correlation were anticyclonic, southeast, southwest, and south. And weather type showing the most large percentage of territory with negative correlation were north, northeast, northwest, and cyclonic. But the most interesting result was obtained with weather type east and west, because the correlation or contribution was negative and positive. We decided to analyze their spatial distribution. We showed a strong relation with the difference of mountain systems in the analyzed territory, which produced a large scale point effect. And now we are working in the relationship between the weather type and soil erosion process and rainfall and runoff. To obtain more information about this topic, you can go to the presentation that we made in the room K2 in Wednesday at 10:45 by Estela Romero. And thank you for your attention. If you have any question?
Guys?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, the question will be at the end of the oral block, right?
Okay.
Okay. The following speaker is Marcela Guerrero from the University of Santo Tomás in Colombia, and she's going to present analysis, diagnosis, and proposal of protection measures to mitigate hydrological alterations in the basin Rio Calandaima derived from climate change. Are you ready?
Ready, Dani. Good afternoon. The introduction, the central problem, increasing disadvantage of water resource in the sub-basin of the Calandaima River for the effects of climate change, causes, climate change incidents, improper water resource management, climate characteristics of the area, effects, system regarding the supply of drinking water, shoreline for agricultural activities, decrease in the development of the municipalities of the sub-basin. Oh, excuse me. Okay, objectives, general objectives. Make a diagnosis of the hydrological balance in the basin of the Calandaima River to propose measures of adaptation or protection against potential situations of shortage derived from scenarios of climate change. Specific objectives. To evaluate the water balance in the basin of a study from the ratios of rain runoff on a monthly and annual scale and implementing a simple model to complete the data series of values of contributions. Calculate the supply guarantee indicators needed to make a diagnosis of the current situation. From the modeling indicator of guarantee supply fund to analyze possible scenarios of climate change and propose measures of adaptation for the improvement in the managed water resource. Location. The sub-basin of the Calandaima River is located in the department of Cundinamarca and is part of the middle basin of the Bogotá River in Colombia. The altitudinal gradient varies between 28 meters over the sea level and 475 meters over the sea level, which present variable climate conditions. Characteristics: wide drainage network, slopes between 0% and 185%, presence of climate diversity, warm, semi-arid, semi-humid, temperate, semi-humid, cold, warm, semi-humid, temperate, semi-arid. Uses: forestry, agricultural, livestock, or grassland. Agricultural uses: can panelera, coffee, fruit, trees, banana, others. Study data: evapotranspiration, precipitation, flow. The study between years 1992 to 2000. This is special media range in complete data. The characteristics is insufficient data, major precipitation, year 1993, lower precipitation without child phenomenon, lower precipitation, year 1998, with phenomenon of child phase strong, precipitation, runoff, direct relation, low correlation, evapotranspiration, runoff, inverse relation, weak correlation, goodness of the monthly adjustment 20%, goodness of the annual adjustment 49%, series of 5 years. The linear progression model is not adequate. Scenarios of climate change considered. Expected change for the region in the period 2011 to 2040. Scenario 1. Greater or equal 20% precipitation and greater or equal 30% evapotranspiration. The precipitation change increase of more than 10% in the lower part western and a slight increase between 0 and 10% in the upper part east. Evapotranspiration change, a slight reduction in the upper part, increase of the 10 to 30% in the lower part. The change for the region in the period 2041 to 2070. Scenario 2. 20% greater precipitation greater than 35% evapotranspiration. Precipitation change, generalizing increase of more than 10%, evapotranspiration change, increase of more than 30%. Expected change for the region in the period 2071 to 2100. Scenario 3, greater than 10% precipitation, greater than 35% evapotranspiration. Precipitation change, reduction between 10 and 30%, evapotranspiration change, increase of more than 30%. A scenario simulated. Number total failure system lifespan. History range evapotranspiration 3, scenario 1, 2, scenario 2, 2, scenario 3, 4. Number total failures per period of consecutive years. 2, 0, 0, and 3, and the scenario 3. Probability of failure in any 1 year. 37.5%. Scenario 1, 25%. Scenario 2, 25%. Scenario 3, 50% deficit. 26.2%. Scenario 2, 43%. Scenario 2, 51%. Scenario 3, 70%. The scarcity index, 88% high. Scenario 1, 65% high. Scenario 2, 70% high. Scenario 3, 100%. Adaptation measures. Early warning system, reuse of water, improving forecast, adopt index of exploitation, rainwater harvest, control concession, technical assistance, management of excess rain. And final conclusions. It is possible to foresee an increase in cost to provide water, given the reduction in supply, which will have direct impacts on the population and the possibility of achieving socioeconomic development, which will allow for sustainability and rural development. The main difficulties evidenced in the development of the analysis and diagnosis of the sub-basin of the Calandaima River and measures of protection against situations of shortage due to climate change were associated to low reliability and quality of the data of the selected goggling station and the number of consecutive series of years with which it was counted for the elaboration of the study. The difficulty in obtaining information regarding similar studies carried out in the area at the required scale and with methodology proposed and the use of the SIMPA model. The need to assume that for the Colombian context, such as the exploitation index, since there is no specific parameter for South America and therefore also for Colombia, the dispersion or information and data required to advance the study, namely coefficients behavior of the study crops and difficulty in achieving thematic mapping associated with the study area. In this set, it could be significant to complement the study and try to bring it to a better calibration using more parameters and check if with the introduction of these changes, the SIMPA model works better in the Colombian context. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Marcela. So the next speaker is Thomas Bauer from the University of Bochum in Austria, in Vienna. And he's going to present a rule-based image analysis approach for calculating residues and vegetation cover and the field conditions.
Soil physical processes, the growing of plants, the efficiency of tillage tools, water flow on surfaces, and erosion protection are some of the main investigations for soil cover. Up to now, there are there is a lack of objectives and reliable methods for estimation of soil cover. So many methods are either time-consuming or very subjective. The aim of our study was to develop a soil cover estimation method and further implement an app for mobile phones with a further focus on an online application and use for direct field measurement. So we decided to use a learning algorithm based on a trained offset where we first manually annotated more than 200 different images of soil cover for all various residual mouth material covers, bowl covers, stones, and living plants. Out of this training set, we a random forest of decision and the classification is automatically grown while using entangled random forest decision tree. So it's a new method in photogrammetry. Out of this training data set, there is an algorithm grown for the classification of each individual pixel of our images. According to this algorithm, each pixel is classified either into soil, plant, or residue. These three diagrams show the comparison of results received with manual image classification and the results obtained with the new algorithm. So you can see on the vertical axis the cover by soil cover by our new app. On the horizontal axis cover by soil cover, the new app, and on the vertical the cover with the manual method that we used before. So for our training sets for living plant material seem to be good enough also for soil, but we have some trouble with the residues because all of these are looking very different. But yeah, that's the comparison. But how does the software or the result look like in detail? Yeah, on the left side of this slide, there's an original soil surface image. On the right side, you can see the results of our new algorithm. Table in the middle gives you the output. It is the percent of soil cover. In green, the one of living biomass, so that's the 2%, and for example, the yellow is dead biomass, that's 9% of this image. So that's how this result looks like. In the end, the user gets this table in the middle of the picture, and also both images, the left and the right one. So, but how many images are necessary to estimate the cover of one single hectare of arable land? As almost all field management leads to a homogeneous soil cover, there will be no single square meter reflecting the typical cover of an entire field site. So we did some preliminary tests on the estimation of field soil cover. In the first, we randomly selected 400 spots in a hectare of field. Randomly, we just sending out one of our scholarships and told him to just take pictures wherever he wants in this field site to get it really randomly. And you can see where he went during this field site, so it looks that he had a little bit too much. Yeah, and in the end, we ended up with a mean soil cover for this freshly tilled barley of 18%, with a minimum of 4 and a maximum of 46% soil cover by this residue of this barley. And to be within a confidence interval of 19%, we propose to take at least 40 images per hectare for this site. So that means that on 40 square meters you should take pictures to get a reliable result within a 90% confidence. So that's one of our first tests on the field soil cover estimations. We are proposing more and more and getting different catch crops, field crops, and after different management operations. So, but the good news on the soil cover app is that we are now able to deliver it. It's available now, and it's for free, of course. And there are two different versions of it. First is the web application, so everybody can log in via some Explorer and using the web application, just upload your images and get them classified. But secondly, there is also an app for mobiles. At the moment, it's only working for Android phones, but we are working on with Windows phones and Apple phones to spread out our knowledge about this soil cover estimation. Yeah, after logging in, there's the possibility of downloading and testing for free, of course. And for reasons of server handling, there's now a limitation of 3 images per person per day. But if somebody is willing and needs more, just contact me and you will have an access where you can analyze as much as you can or you want. Yeah, thanks for attention and thanks for the avatar session, Dani. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you so much. Let's move on to the next speaker, who is Mamen Beato, with the presentation entitled Immersive World for Education in Soils. Mamen is from the University of Córdoba in Spain.
Afternoon. My name is Maricarmen Beato. I am a PhD student, and the title of my presentation is Immersive World for Education in Soils. What are the immersive world? They are platforms of interaction and experience with the objective is to connect the participants that are in different parts of the world with a multi-use software called OpenSync Firestorm. Each participant is in a three-dimensional environment and represented by an avatar that interacts and emulates a real situation. The year 2015 was the International Year of Soil and began a project called...
Mamen, sorry, there is a problem with the sound. Yes, can you put louder or speak louder? Muy bien, perdona. When you want. Thank you so much. The last but not least speaker is Daniel Sacristan with Cooper Toxicity Management in Mediterranean Agricultural Soils.
Hi, can you hear me, Tani? Tani, can you hear me? Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
All right.
We can hear you.
Okay.
So,
Dr. Titawas for the presentation. I'm going to use these minutes I've been given to present some of the recent results we got from the research that we carried out concerning one of the various contamination problems we face in agricultural soils, which is copper soil contamination.
Danny,
as many of you know,
Danny, sorry, can you speak louder?
Louder. All right, I'll try. As many of you know, copper, how about this? Does it work better?
Yes, much better.
All right.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right.
Sorry.
No worries. Then. All right. Then, as many of you know, copper is a micronutrient used by plants and animals for different purposes, such as, for example, metabolic pathways, and forms part of the photosynthetic apparatus. And regarding copper and its use in agriculture, it's important to point out that copper is the base for many different fungicides. All right, just a second because I need to get nearer. All right. Regarding the use of this method in agriculture, it's important to say that many of the fungicides used in broad spectrum are based on copper. One of the best known is the Bordeaux mix, and is also present in many of the widespread fertilizers used in intensive agriculture. As you may also know, intensive agriculture, conventional agriculture, is based on the use of intensive and excessive chemical products such as fertilizers and fungicides, which lead to different environmental problems, being one of them the contamination of soils. In fact, and regarding copper, content of up to 3,000 milligrams per kilogram, which is quite a lot, was found in some of the agricultural soils of Brazil. Therefore, adequately identifying copper-contaminated sites and establishing appropriate management practices becomes crucial for the conservation of the resource soil. The study carried out tried to address these issues for copper-contaminated Mediterranean agricultural soils by analyzing the influence of soil properties and the type of crop on the dynamics of this metal in different representative Mediterranean agricultural soils. To do so, three groups of experiments were carried out. One with lettuce, which was grown in European Mediterranean soils. Another one where lettuce was grown in Australian Mediterranean agricultural soils. And the last one where tomato was grown in European Mediterranean soils. These two crops were the ones selected because they are representative of two different types of crops, which are leaf and fruit crops. In these groups of experiments, we had two different ecotoxicological assays. One that analyzed the influence of copper over biomass production, and another one that analyzed the accumulation of this metal in the different parts of the plants. To do so, we selected 7 different soils, which were 4 from the European Mediterranean area or region, and 3 from the Australian Mediterranean region. As you can see in the table, the soils selected varied significantly, including a wide range of values for each of the soil's properties considered. These were representative of Mediterranean agricultural soils. It's important to point out that all the experiments were carried out under controlled conditions in a greenhouse. To assess the effect of copper over biomass production, the effective concentration that reduced the biomass production by 50% was the index calculated. As you can see all from the table, when comparing lettuce grown in the different soils, similar toxic effects were obtained for both of the agricultural areas we analyzed. Effective concentration values were similar for both, and in both cases, the soil having the highest pH and the highest clay content had the highest toxicity values. On the other hand, when comparing lettuce with tomato, grown only in the European Mediterranean region, one can see that tomato seems to tolerate better the copper-contaminated soils, as toxicity values are higher. In terms of accumulation, significant results were obtained. When comparing the accumulation of copper in the edible part of lettuce grown in the different agricultural areas, it can be observed that this content increased as the concentration in soil also did, and that both pH and clay content again have an important role in terms of copper absorption. The soils with the high pH and the high clay content accumulated less amount of copper in the edible parts of the plant. Moreover, when comparing the accumulation of this metal, both in lettuce and tomato grown in the European Mediterranean soils, the content of this metal in tomato fruit was not only lower than that for lettuce for every dose, but it also kept constant independently of the dose and the soil type. Therefore, one can assume that tomato plants control or buffer the translocation of copper from the plant to the fruit. Therefore, attending to the result obtained and described previously, these are the conclusions that we can extract. Firstly, attending to the toxic effect and accumulation of copper rate in tomato, this crop could be used as a remediation strategy under certain cases, which should be studied. And secondly, Establishing appropriate soil quality standards and proposing adequate soil management practices should be done considering both the soil properties and the type of crop. And thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much. Now we are going to start the turn of questions. So I'd like to know if from Córdoba, do you have any question for Guillaume? That he was the first. Oh, I have one question for Guillaume. Guillaume, I didn't understand if you prepare the device or is a commercial device to measure electrical conductivity.
It's a commercial device built by a company called GF Instruments. And basically what you need to do is to do some calibration in the field, to go back to a drift station to be sure to measure, to correct the conductivity, because the device is quite cheap and sometimes it drifts over hours, and so you need to come back to the drift station to correct it. But it's a commercial device, so everybody can buy it.
Okay. So more question for Guillaume?
Dani?
Sí, yes.
Dani? Vidal from Córdoba has a question for Guillaume.
Yeah.
Thank you, perfect.
I want to know if it's possible to use this mechanism for vertisols, where cracks and bulk density depends on the humidity.
I think I've never used it for vertisols, but it may be more difficult. I think you need to test it, because if you have some cracks in the ground, you will still get a conductivity measurements, because it's by induction. So you will still get a measure of conductivity, but I think the cracks may influence your measurements as well. So you need to test it. For sure.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to know if you have any question for Dice, Peña?
For Dice, Tani, I have a question for Dice.
Perfect.
Could you explain what are the main criteria for the white types? What are the factors that you use to define the weather types?
Okay, I use the classification by Jenkison and Collison, and this method see the geostrophic index. It's necessary to see the vorticity and other patterns relationship to the wind. Yes.
Okay. And how many weather types we have in Spain?
For this classification,
Yes.
we obtained 26 weather types, directional and hybrid. This combination anticyclonic with duration, but for this study only use the most important weather type, because the other weather type, hybrid, there has a low frequency.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, I have another question for Dice. Are you going to explore other climate? I mean, for example, El Niño has a specific pattern in semi-arid areas. Maybe you can define different weather type in other point around the world.
Yes. I would like to use the teleconnection patterns like El Niño, NOAA, and the others. But the problem with this pattern is it's not the same time. It's necessary to see the retardo. I don't know the name in English. It's necessary to see the retardation. And at the moment, I never use this pattern teleconnection.
Okay, thank you, Daris.
Okay. Thank you.
More questions? No? Okay. From Córdoba, do you have any question for Marcela Guerrero?
Yes, Dani is going to speak with Marcela.
Perfect.
Marcela, hello. I was wondering, well, I've been through the abstract and seeing your presentation has clarified some things, which has made the. But I was wondering, because one of the last things you say that is part, according to what you carried out, there's a need to do more investment, and you say that this investment has to promote the application of harvest technique to control floods, to, let's say, save some. I was wondering what type of techniques were you considering when you were speaking about these harvesting techniques.
Sí, Dani, ¿me ayudas, por favor? Escuché todo, pero necesito que me ayudes con la traducción.
Vale, guapa. Que mira,
Vale.
simplemente me pregunta por la técnica de cosechar agua, de harvesting technique. ¿Qué sugieres? ¿Qué medidas específicas sugieres para los agricultores?
Pues, Dani, como en el país hay exceso de humedad, sobre todo en los meses de febrero a mayo, entonces pues se podrían hacer como canales, ese tipo de embalses para utilizar esas aguas para riego cuando vienen las épocas secas, que son de julio hasta septiembre aproximadamente. ¿Entendiste, Daniel?
Sí, entendido.
Ok, gracias.
Okay, basically check dams, right, and reservoir for irrigation. That is? Sí. Marcela, I have another question for you.
Ok, en español, por favor.
Vale, primero en inglés y luego en español, ¿vale?
Ok.
I'd like to know if in the catchment of Calandaima, you have predominantly forest land use, but in the future, you think that the land uses can be changed or not? For example, it's common to find new farmers in this area, or maybe new urban settlements. Me explico. ¿Tú crees que en la cuenca, que es fundamentalmente forestal, habrá previsiblemente cambios de uso? O sea, se queman bosques, por ejemplo, para agricultura, o se ocupan, hay nuevos asentamientos humanos, urbanos. ¿Crees que además del cambio climático, el cambio de uso de suelo le puede afectar a la cuenca?
Sí, esa cuenca efectivamente pues ha sido bastante modificada y se está avanzando la frontera agrícola muy fuertemente porque es una zona muy cercana a Bogotá, que es la capital de Colombia, y pues esta zona la están utilizando nuevamente para cultivar, para llevar cultivos hacia Bogotá. Entonces sí es posible y de hecho se ha cambiado mucho el uso y el tema agrícola ha producido desastres últimamente, si lo han visto últimamente en Colombia. Esto ha generado, porque los ecosistemas son muy frágiles y las pendientes son muy altas, se cambia el uso y pues genera desastres, ¿no?
Okay, thank you. So
Thank you.
Probably in the future the land uses will change, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. More question for Marcela? No? Okay. Do you have question for Thomas? About his amazing apps?
Not in Córdoba, nobody.
I have one question.
Yes, please.
Thomas, I'm Natalie Uribe. A very interesting presentation. Thank you. I just wonder if this app can I use it for this crop system that is very mixed. For example, there are some countries that they have coffee, but they then change very quickly with other crops. So I don't know, it is possible or it's just more for this kind of basin area that they have more like no mixed crop systems.
Yeah, we have used this system. We have used this system in vineyards, so it should also work in coffee crops, but I have no idea.
Okay, so maybe later I will send to you an email because I'm very interested to know if I can apply in this
Yes,
kind of
that would be
system that are
great.
more. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
I have another question for Thomas.
Okay, Guillaume, go ahead.
Yeah, just so can you if can we train the system if for instance we have a field with oat or another type of crops, can we train the system to get the residue?
I guess so. That's what we did for field crops.
So
But,
it's possible.
yeah, no idea for orchards.
Do you plan to do it for other crops as well?
Yes, we are continually improving it.
Okay, thanks. We keep in touch.
Thanks.
Okay, in the same line of the question of Guillaume, do you need to train the type of residue with the app or not?
If we have new field crops, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Thomas.
I have a last question for you, Thomas.
Okay,
just
perfect.
just a last question. If, for instance, you are in a field with different soil type, for instance, different color, will the apps will be able to still make a difference between the residue, even if there is different color from the field? For instance, also if there is different soil moisture, so you can see the color of the soil is quite different.
Yes, this should work. Yes.
Okay.
We tested it for various field sites and field moisture conditions and also soil colors from really yellow to dark black with many different residues from straw to sunflower or corn residues or also leaves from vineyards. So it should work for different soil colors, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, more question for Thomas? No? Now, do you have question for Mamen?
In Córdoba, there is a question for Mamen. Please, Danny.
Mamen, thank you very much for your presentation. I was just wondering if there has been any other tests in other congresses, or is the EGU the only one where we do actually this virtual presentation?
Mamen?
She's thinking.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mamen.
I just want to add, maybe they are organizing the same kind of virtual presentation for the American Geophysics Union for the next meeting.
Great.
Interesting.
Yes.
Good idea. Mamen? Are you thinking of prepare a session for the AGU?
Yes.
Okay, thank
I
you.
think she's very happy with that idea.
Okay. So, for Daniel, do you have any question?
Yes. In Córdoba, José María has a question for Daniel.
Now?
Yes.
Okay. Hi,
Yes, José.
José María. Congratulations, everyone. And for Daniel, I'd like to know, you say that more research is need to be done. Do you know if it's have been already done or something?
Sorry, you said that it's new research that needs to be done.
And do you know if there is something new about that?
Yes, it is constantly like increasing. I don't know the exact point where it's at, but you still they're still doing experiments with different types of soils and different areas because like hydrological regime and types of soil influence a lot in how metals move in the soil. So yeah, it's been constantly done, and in fact there are like heaps amount of crops. So and they behave differently depending on what type of crop they're in. So yes, I don't know the exact point on what point there are. So there is research being done, but there's something going on with, especially with like metals and emerging pollutants.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have another question to Daniel. Because many copper treatments are can damage soil or crops. Do you know if there is alternative to these treatments?
It's true that copper is one of the most famous fungicides because it's like really, its effectiveness is really, really high. But well, there's like biological control being going on and some organic, let's say organic amendments that can be done with, let's say, plant and oils extracted from them. So there are various options. That the thing is, they're not as they don't persist as much as copper does. So they need to be applied more frequently, and maybe that's a advantage.
Interesting. Thank you.
Okay.
No more questions in Córdoba.
I have two questions for Danny.
All right.
The first one is why tomatoes and lettuce?
Yeah.
Why do you check this crop? There is
yes. There's they are considered to be by legislation, both European and American. They are considered to be one of the plants selected representative of the behavior of different type of crops. Lettuce belongs to the group classified as leaf crops, which include spinach and others. And tomato corresponds to another big group classified as fruit crops, which well includes pepper, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Those were the ones that were selected, and they are recommended by different legislations.
Okay. Do you think that a tomato with copper would be good for tomatina? or could be very dangerous?
The thing is that copper in fruit, in tomato, it keeps constant. It is like plants recognizes copper and blocks it, so it's always going to be for tomatina and for consumption.
Okay, now I'm happier. Okay, do you have more questions?
No more questions in Córdoba.
Just one more question of what you just said, Danny. Do you have any idea of how the tomatoes can just block the copper from entering the fruits? Do you have any idea?
It's not my. It's true that I was like really shocked about my results, and it's not my expertise area, but it's something that is very interesting. I know very few about what paths or what mechanisms and paths to actually block. But it's true. We have seen that it actually does. It's like it flows through the root and goes through shoots and leaves, and when it gets to the fruit, it just gets blocked. So maybe factors consumption. I don't know if they can be actually thrown away in the leaves, like older leaves. I'm not sure. It's not my expertise area. I would like to know more, and it would be interesting to have like a data coordinate project. But it's really interesting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, more questions? No?
Not in Cordoba, Dani.
Okay. Natalia from Delft, do you have more questions? Natalia? Okay. So I like to close the session. Firstly, I'd like to congratulations on your presentation for the participants. And thank you for the conveners. And thank you, everyone. So
Thank you very much, Dani, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dani.
Thank you, Dani.
So I hope in the future, I'm happy. And Thomas is very happy too. So I'm going to disconnect. Okay?
Okay.
Do you have somebody
Okay.
would like to say anything? No? Somebody in the room? Okay. So see you in the next year. Bye.
See you. Thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
Dani.
Bye.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Have a
Bye.
good weekend.